Imagine that you're playing your regular D&D session. However, when the time for combat comes, you don't face a typical monster, but a great, beautiful building that leads a procession of other buildings, all exceptional in their beauty. I would guess that you would be shocked. How do you even begin a combat with a literal building? However, let me tell you that this sensation of weirdness can greatly enhance the combat encounters in your D&D campaigns. Today, I'll show you why weird monsters are a great tool to enhance your D&D fights and present you with a simple method on how to implement such foes and utilize their potential to its maximum level. Let's start with establishing the structure of this video. It will be divided into 3 parts. Exploring the idea of weird monsters, what makes them fun, and how to make them. At the beginning, it is important to establish 2 fundamentals regarding this subject. 1. What precisely are weird monsters? I would describe them as creatures who bear traits foreign and/or contrary to human reason, which are present within their identity to such an extent that we can't instantly figure out their pattern. The way in which they act has to be illogical and contrary to the norms that we perceive to be normal. It is as if the regular monsters try to fit in with their behavior and abilities into what we would consider natural, while the weird monster doesn't concern itself with the logic of man. A perfect example of it would be the King in Yellow play from Robert Chambers' stories. The main concept tying those stories together is the presence of a mystical play, one that is so beautiful that it drives people insane. Contrary to the first assumptions that could be made about it, the play is a creature as it acts, always managing to find its victims and make them actually read it even if they are hesitant at first. Yet the play's pattern is really foreign, more so than any other monster, in that it is a play, a literal text that warps realities and drives people insane. Okay, I've mentioned what it is, but we don't know why it was made, how it was made, or who was its true author, nor how does it really corrupt their victims' minds. Yet, after we are exposed to the play, we start to uncover parts of its pattern. It often targets artists, possibly because of their higher perception of beauty, and that once you read it, there is no escape. But we can't be sure about it, as the reader is never presented with the full play itself. This makes it so that there is excitement of the reader from uncovering how the play can work. However, even when the reader does so, a large part of the play remains shrouded and unknown to us, keeping the feeling of mystery and an inadherence to the laws of logic. Which brings us to the next aspect: why weird monsters can enhance your D&D campaigns. For me, the very nature of these creatures is the thing that makes them extremely satisfying to face at the table. I'm talking of course about their foreign illogical patterns, as they are a perfect tool for a monster to really grab the attention of your players, which is crucial for making an entertaining and good D&D campaign. Because when your players are interested in something, they start to pay more attention to it. With the help of weird monsters, we can reverse this process. By first engaging their attention with something intellectually demanding, we are laying a foundation for great payoffs, which will be useful when we show the method with which you will be able to create weird monsters. But before establishing the rules for making such creatures, we need to know why they are interesting. We'll do it by covering the 2 pillars, which alongside attention make them so great mechanical and role-playing tools. Reasondefying monsters create space for insanely unique mechanics. Because of their illogical nature, those creatures can allow our creativity to achieve its full potential. Anyone can literally create any mechanic that they reckon would be fun to have at the table, like an encounter I ran in my Victorian England campaign. There was this one combat with a creature that pulled out the souls of its opponent into a semi-real, semi-dream realm, and only then did it engage in a fight. This ability was something that completely reshaped how a combat looks, as it was less of an optimal utilization of your character's levels and abilities and more of a question of how do you creatively utilize the advantage that this new approach gives you, and how do you mitigate the creature's native strength in this dimension. In that specific encounter, I allowed my players to manifest objects by making Arcana or Perception checks, and those checks made this combat insanely fun and unique, as the players got new fleshy abilities which incentivized exiting from their regular approach to combat. Secondly and finally, weird monsters create immense storytelling potential. Again, because of the fact that they can easily hook the player's attention, although I do recognize that they won't fit into all of your campaigns, as it can, for instance, break the tone of your gritty realism campaign, when all of a sudden a two-headed horse starts mirroring the PCs. Yet, most of the time your story could benefit from having a weird monster interconnected with the main plot. Like the building in my campaign being used as a tool to signify the decay of the world and increase the sense of urgency in the players. Your players will naturally seek a connection between the weird monster and all of what's happening in the campaign, because they would know that you probably haven't put this monster in play just randomly. After establishing the crucial fundamentals of the weird monster phenomena, we can start to actually apply them in practice. By creating a 3-part weird creature creation sheet that is built upon the exact factors that make monsters fun and weird. The first thing that you need to do in order to create your own reason-defying creature is concept. Concept here means the core idea this foe has to represent. This helps to create cohesion with such creatures and their abilities and serves a great starting point for later stages of creating this monster. The core of the building monster from my campaign was the idea of conflict between exceptionality and mediocrity, and it was showcased through its behavior of leading a procession of exceptional buildings through the streets of London. For another monster that I have created with this method, the core was knowledge. But honestly, any idea could work, especially if you have some cool mechanics associated with it in mind. And when the idea you're using is directly connected to the campaign's themes, well, then it makes the creature even greater as a plot device. The second step of this process is where your idea starts to really form. Here you have to take your concept and figure out what abilities, strengths, weaknesses, or special effects could it bring. This step is when you have to go really creative and create a pattern that would be foreign at first glance, but gettable. Of course, in regards to how the players are supposed to overcome this challenge and not the whole pattern itself. Think of such a creature as a large puzzle, filled with reason-defying phenomena that try to kill your players. The puzzle has to challenge their minds on how to solve it. They, however, don't have to know how everything works or even know about everything. Just as in a regular puzzle, they just need to overcome it in some way. There could be many different solutions that would make solving the puzzle easier when the players actually discover some key aspect of a creature. And your job as a GM is to really incentivize that search. Hide the key somewhere within the main concept so that the players would be more engaged in the creature itself. My knowledge-feeding monster was one of such creatures, as it had an action that allowed it to tear a memory from its original space and later enhance itself with it. This was both the main strength and the main flaw of that creature. Consuming knowledge required the creature to take time processing it, and when it had too much knowledge to process, the creature was stunned, as it became apparent when a book fell on it during a fight. The players then concluded that the optimal strategy is to feed the monster with more knowledge than it could possess. And this happened when the players tripled the number of bookshelves on it at once. The final part of making such a creature is actually implementing it into your story. This is the step where you forge connections, thinking about what arc, faction, environment this creature would elevate the most, and where it is needed the most. However, when you do so, remember to leave aspects of its function and relations to the factions intentionally vague. This vagueness and uncertainty would prompt your players to speculate upon it even long after the campaign is over. A player from a campaign that we have finished recently wished me to mention that this is indeed true, and my weird monsters are stuck in their mind for a long time now. That memorability is the thing that I like about those monsters the most, and it is what separates good campaigns from great ones.